Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we are going to be doing an eyeshadow palette declutter. I might declutter some other face palettes in here as well, but it's mainly just an eyeshadow palette declutter. For the most part, this is my eyeshadow palette collection. I do have some on the top of my Alex drawer in an organizer that I will show you guys, but those are like my everyday favorite go-to palettes, so I don't have any to declutter there. But these are just my extra palettes that I don't necessarily reach for every single day. You guys know I love collecting eyeshadow palettes. They're one of my absolute favorite parts about my makeup collection, and I just feel like I need to make room for more. A lot of these I haven't reached for in a while, and I feel like someone else can definitely benefit from using them and show these palettes a lot more love than I can. I definitely can't guarantee that I'm gonna get rid of a ton of palettes. I'm not gonna say that this is going to be like a huge declutter. My goal is to declutter at least 5 palettes. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but these eyeshadow palettes are my babies. I've had trouble parting with them in the past, but I think I could do it today. I really just want to make room for some new stuff. This drawer is really crammed. I don't know if you guys can see, the palettes really don't even like have much wiggle room in here. This has just been something I've been meaning to do for a while, and I figured it would be fun to share it with you guys when the time came to do it, which is now. So I really hope that you guys enjoy seeing this video, and let's just go ahead and get started into the declutter. Hopefully you guys will be able to see I have been messing around with my camera settings for hours, last night, today, and I've just been trying to better my camera settings. I was doing so much research last night and I'm still having a bit of trouble. So hopefully this video looks okay. Definitely let me know what you guys think. And okay, I'm gonna stop rambling. I'm procrastinating because I don't want to get rid of anything, but I definitely know that I have to. Mainly how this drawer is organized is that I have my face palettes on this side facing out, and then anything on this side in is going to be eyeshadow palettes, and then I have some face palettes in the back too. So I'm just gonna kind of shuffle through my palettes. I was thinking about this last night. I was kind of just doing an overview of my eyeshadow palette in my head to see if there was enough that I wanted to declutter, and I remembered that I had this, and I've seriously reached for this like one time. So this is the Face Candy Unicorn Glow Highlight Collection palette. I think this is going to be one of those face palettes that I do go ahead and declutter. I literally only used this once or twice. I really did like it when I first did use it. If you guys haven't seen it, one of the highlighters that really like blew me away though was this Enchanted shade. For it being like straight up orange, I feel like this looked really pretty on the skin. I don't know if you guys can see right there. It's just like a beautiful peachy highlighter. But other than that, I feel like I have all of these in just formulas that I like more. This one is a little bit on the greeny side. I don't know if you guys will be able to tell. Not my favorite color highlighter. And then the purple and the blue I just never really use. So I think this is going to be one of the face palettes that I do declutter in this video. And I honestly only use this like once or twice. Any other use that you guys see is most likely just from swatching it. So I am going to be decluttering this. Like I said, I just don't reach for it that much, and I can make room for something else in my collection. Here I have more palettes from Bad Habit or Face Candy. This one I definitely know I'm gonna keep. This one is the Retro Love palette. I really want to keep this because it looks so much like the Subculture, and I did use this once and I really did like that. But one that I was debating was the Amazonia palette from Face Candy. When I open this up, this definitely doesn't scream typical colors that I normally would wear, but at the same time that kind of makes me want to keep it because it is so unique. That like toucan orange shade absolutely screams to me, and I just love some of the colors in here. I think I'm going to be holding on to this one. Part of me does feel like I'm going to hold on to it and not use it, but I want to keep it in my collection for a few more months and see if I will use it because it just has some gorgeous shades that I don't have otherwise in my collection. So I'm going to be hanging on to both of these, and I'm gonna decide on the Amazonia one once I get a little bit more use out of it. Another palette that I was debating keeping is the Pretty Vulgar Nightingale palette. I got this in my BoxyCharm back in September, and I only used it once again, and it was only in the video where I actually tested out my BoxyCharm. So this is another one that I'm conflicted on. I really did like this as cool tone as it is. I really love it, but when I was looking at this the other day, I did realize that this is super similar to the Naked Smoky palette. So I was like, do I need both of these in my collection? I'll kind of put them side by side, so hopefully you guys can see just how similar these are. The only reason that I'm conflicted, I know I definitely don't need both of these, but the Naked Smoky has been discontinued, so I feel like if I want to do a cool tone look, maybe I should keep the Pretty Vulgar one because I don't really necessarily like using discontinued products on my channel. With that being said, I do also like to have all the Naked palettes as collector's items, so I feel like this is going to be another one that I end up keeping. I am not doing so hot so far, you guys, but I do think I'm going to keep both of these just so I have like a smoky cool tone palette to use on my channel that hasn't been discontinued, and I'm going to keep this as like a collector's item. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to keep all my Too Faced palettes. I have the Bonbons, the Sweet Peach, and the Original Chocolate Bar. I have this e.l.f. palette right here that I literally only used one time, so I definitely have to use that a bit more. Oh, this one I'm definitely getting rid of. This is the Morphe and Kathleen Lights palette. This was my very first collab, I believe, that I ever purchased, and this was my very first Kathleen Lights collaboration. I love Kathleen Lights. I love supporting her and everything that she does. I think that she makes amazing products no matter if it's with ColourPop. I thought this was really great at the time, but honestly, Morphe just doesn't make my favorite formula of shadows. And in my opinion, this formula just isn't that great either anymore. I feel like these are a little bit on the dry side. They don't blend as well as I would like them. When I first got this palette, this was like everything and more that I could have ever asked for in a palette. I thought it was absolutely amazing. I thought Morphe shadows were the best of the best, but I recently did get rid of my Morphe 35K and 35O palettes. I'm just not obsessed with the Morphe formula, or at least the older Morphe formula anymore, and this isn't an exception. I just feel like it's a little dry, a little hard to blend. As much as I love Kathleen Lights and I would love to hold on to this for collective purposes, I just think it could go to a better home, and maybe someone is like dying to have this in their collection and they can't get their hands on it. So I might be listing this on my Depop or something. If you guys want to go check out my Depop, you could check it out. It is always in the description box, and my shop is just at Jackie Ann Makeup. I love Kathleen. I definitely will continue to support her with her future collabs, but I just don't think I really have use for this one in my collection anymore. The next palette that I for sure know that I'm going to get rid of is the Laura Lee Party Animal eyeshadow palette. I've never used this palette, so I can't speak on the quality or anything like that, but I just don't really feel like I need this in my collection. As you guys can see, this has some gorgeous, very, very vibrant colors. I'll hold it like a little bit closer so you guys can see. It has these gorgeous, super vibrant colors in it, but if you guys know me, I rarely ever use color on my eyes, and I do have a different colorful palette that I feel like I would get a lot more use out of than this. I've never even touched this before, you guys, but for some reason this came to me looking like it was touched. I don't know if you could see, like in the green and the middle blue is a Party and Damage Control. Also the dark purple hung over a little bit. They had like little marks in them, and it just came to me looking like it was touched, and I just wasn't really about that. So I think I'm gonna get rid of this. I've had this for about 3 or 4 months and I just haven't touched it. Even when I have done a colorful look, I've been finding myself reaching for something like my Kathleen Lights Zodiac palette, which I love, and using some of the more like muted colors in here, which are a lot nicer in my opinion. I'm also going to be getting rid of this CoverGirl True Naked Roses palettes. If you guys have been watching my channel pretty much from the start, you will remember this. I got this palette back in February of 2016 to do a Valentine's Day look, and I also wanted to compare this to my Naked 3 palette. This is very, very similar, and here are the two palettes next to each other just so you guys can really see those similarities. Even though I don't get much use out of either of these, I'm gonna go ahead and keep the Naked 3 for my collection, and I'm going to probably get rid of this one. I would pass it on, but I just feel like it's so old now. It's gonna be 3 years old in February, and I'm just not obsessed with the formula. I don't think it's the greatest, so yeah, I'm just gonna get rid of that one too. Next up here, I have two palettes from Too Faced. These are their little palettes that come in the tins. I do want to keep my Peanut Butter and Jelly palette. I absolutely love this palette. I remember how excited I was when I first got my hands on it, and this is what it looks like. I just think it's really cute. I love the concept, and some of these warm tones are amazing. So I'm definitely gonna hang on to this one. But with that being said, I think I am going to finally let go of my Too Faced Natural Matte palette. This is painful, you guys. I really loved this palette. I remember when this launched and I saw pictures of it. I made my mom drive me to Ulta to buy it the same day that it got released in store because I loved it that much. But unfortunately, I just don't find myself getting much use out of this. I haven't picked this palette up literally in over a year, and it's just a little bit too cool tone for my liking. As you guys can see, I used to use this seriously on the daily. I loved all of the shades in here, but it's just a little bit too cool tone for me, and I just don't really use this. So I love this palette, definitely like an OG in my collection, but I think someone else can get much better use out of it than I've been getting. The next palette that I'm going to be decluttering is this Pure Cosmetics Midnight Masquerade palette. I got this in my last BoxyCharm. Ooh, this is reflecting really bad. Sorry about the reflection, you guys, but I just don't really love this that much. I used one shade, which is the silver right here, and I thought it was pretty good. I didn't think it was horrible, but if I'm being totally honest, you guys, I do not like palettes that have face products and eye products combined. I don't know what it is, I just don't find myself reaching for them, and a lot of these shades I just feel like aren't very flattering for my skin tone as blushes. These two are a little bit too dark, and this one is way too bright for me. The one time that I did use this silver eyeshadow in here, I didn't think it was really that bad by any means. I thought it was a nice creamy formula, and I thought this applied really nicely, but I really can't keep the palette just for one shade. So I'm going to be passing this on along with my BH Cosmetics and Shan XO palette. I truly love Shan XO, and this one's going to be hard to get rid of, but as much as I love it, I really am trying to be like hard on myself and think, when was the last time that I actually used this palette? And again, it has been over a year. So this is what it looks like. It is a 9-color eyeshadow palette as well as a 9-color lipstick palette. With this one, I used it for a while, but I found myself running out of ideas to do with this palette, honestly. I would do this one in my crease, this one on my outer corner, this one to deepen up, and then I'd pick any shade for my lid. I just felt like the looks that I was doing with this palette was just getting a little bit repetitive. I don't know, I love Shan XO, and like I said, I'm looking forward to any future collaborations or videos that she does do, but I'm just not super obsessed with this anymore. It was just getting a little boring in my opinion. And then as far as the lipstick side of the palette goes, this formula was really great, you guys. I'm not huge on panned lipstick, but this formula was bomb. These two colors, as you guys can see, I got a lot of use out of. Those are really pretty nude shades. The other ones, like these whole 2 rows, I didn't use much. I tried all of them and I did swatch all of them, but I pretty much only used these 2 shades, and to me, that's not enough to keep the whole palette. So I do have a few more palettes in the back here. I honestly don't even remember what I have back here, but considering they're in the back of the drawer tells me it's probably time to pass them along. So this is the Urban Decay Vice 4 palette. Can we talk about the packaging on this palette, you guys? I think this is some of the most gorgeous packaging that I've seen in a palette in a while. I believe this kind of looks like a spider web, kind of gives me some Spider-Man vibes, but I think I'm going to be decluttering this palette out of my collection as well. I did love this at the time. I did receive this as a Christmas gift one year, but I cannot tell you the last time that I picked up this palette. I think it's beautiful. I love the color concept at the time, but looking at it now, this palette just doesn't really excite me anymore. I definitely feel like these greens are so similar, and not a shock to you guys, this was like my comfort zone in this palette right here. So I never really branched out too much into these purple shades. The formula wasn't my absolute favorite, and since it's in the back of the drawer, that is like my #1 thing that tells me that I haven't used it in a while and it's probably time to pass it on. I believe that is everything that I wanted to declutter. I'm just gonna go in and kind of do a little bit of reorganizing of this palette just so everything fits a little bit better. Before, I had way too much in here, so it was a little bit cramped. So I'm just gonna do a little reorganizing and you guys can watch me do that. Alright you guys, so just to recap, I was able to get rid of 8 palettes. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but for someone who has been so attached to their eyeshadow palettes, and I honestly don't think I've gotten rid of an eyeshadow palette in literally years, so this was a really big step for me, and I'm really happy that I was able to clear a lot of them out. I'm definitely gonna miss some of these palettes, but it was just time to pass them on. Also, you guys, if at any point in this video I said that I was gonna be getting rid of any palette, I did not mean that they would be going in the trash unless it's it's like super old. I might be throwing away this True Naked Roses one just because it is such an old palette. I wouldn't want anyone else to use it on their eyes, but if I did say getting rid of, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily going in the garbage. I will be passing them on to someone else, listing them on my Depop, and just making sure that they find new homes. All right, and now I just want to quickly go through what is in my everyday eyeshadow palette organizer. This is where I keep my everyday palettes. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to be decluttering anything from here just because I know I love these palettes and I use them all the time, but I figured it would just be a good additive to the video so you guys saw what I don't use and what I'm getting rid of. And now I'll also be showing you guys what I use literally all the time, my favorite palettes ever, and what I keep up on my vanity. Please excuse the mess. This is like new makeup and stuff that I'm still trying to organize, and I'm in the process of redoing my vanity and getting a new setup. So there's a lot of stuff over there. So the first one here that I've been absolutely loving, you guys, I did not think that I would love this palette as much as I do. This is the Profusion Cosmetics Matte 10 Shade Eyeshadow Palette. This was only $5, you guys, and this is absolutely incredible. If you guys have not tried this, I highly recommend that you do. Some of Profusion's products have been blowing me away like you guys wouldn't believe. I use this palette so much. I really love it. These shades are so creamy and smooth and pigmented, and they blend out so nice. I wore this on Thanksgiving. I did like the most easy smoky warm look. I wore this on Christmas. It is just a perfect all the time palette, and if you guys just want a palette of the most perfect neutral to warm transition shades, deepening shades, brown shades, this is the one for you, and it was only $5. My next favorite palettes that I use all of the time are my Anastasia palettes. I'm sure that doesn't surprise you guys at all. This one being the Soft Glam palette, which is definitely my favorite palette of all time. I feel like I don't need to talk about these too much. You guys know I love and use these all the time, and Soft Glam is definitely my favorite. I also have Modern Renaissance in here, which is beautiful as well. I would say Modern Renaissance is a little bit more vibrant, and some of these shades lean a little bit more on the cool tone side, so I don't get as much use out of it, but you guys know I love these warm shades here, so I still use that a lot. And then also the most unique Anastasia palette in my opinion is definitely the Prism palette. This has so many cool unique shades. When I first got this palette, I didn't think I would like it as much as I actually do, but I've actually created so many different looks with this palette. It's really fun to play around with. I really love the formula and all of the different colors, so I definitely like this one a lot more than I thought, like I said, and I feel like I want to start incorporating maybe more tutorials and stuff using this, because it's really one of those palettes that gets my creative juices flowing and it really inspires me. I also have the Tartelette Toasted palette in here, which you guys know is one of my absolute favorites. I use this all the time. This is like a warm lover's dream. If you guys love neutral to warm shadows, I definitely recommend picking up the Tartelette Toasted. And then also in here I have two of my ColourPop palettes. Actually, I think these are the only two ColourPop palettes that I own. This one is the Zodiac and Kathleen Lights palette, which looks just like this. Again, another unique palette. I've had some trouble creating a lot of looks with this, I'm not going to lie, but one of my favorite shades for my crease is the Taurus, so that is one of the reasons why I keep this up on my vanity. I dip into that transition shade a lot for a bunch of different looks. And then also I have my ColourPop Cute AF palette in here, which you guys have seen me talk about a million times on my channel. A more recent favorite of mine is my Profusion Contour palette. I use this every single day to contour my face. I'm so happy that I discovered this palette. This is so similar to the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. The formula is slightly different. I would say the formula is not as pigmented and it's not as straight up matte as the Shade and Light palette is, but I feel like this is so workable, and I'll show you guys. I hit total pan on these two shades in my Kat Von D palette, and I'm so happy that I have new ones of them now. As you guys can see, those two light shades are totally gone, and then the other shades are so similar to the Profusion one. But surprisingly, I found myself reaching for the Profusion one a lot more. I really love it, and I've been incorporating this into my day-to-day looks in just when I do my makeup every day. Back here, I also keep my Benefit blush bar. This honestly was here because it didn't fit in my drawer before, but maybe now it will. But this is just a really pretty palette. I'm sure you guys have seen this. Just has some blushes and the Hoola bronzer in there. Love those. This next palette I don't absolutely love, but I'm keeping it here to remind myself to retest this out. If you guys saw my testing Profusion makeup video, you would know that this did not work out for me in that video. I wasn't the biggest fan. I had a lot of trouble using this palette, but I keep it in my organizer just to remind myself to use it. I haven't retested it since that video, but that is why it is up here. I will get around to using this one day. So this is the Profusion Chocolates palette, if I hadn't mentioned that yet. In the video, I only used these two greens as well as this Fuse shade, but I feel like there's a lot more that I could do with the palette, so that is up here just to make sure that I test this out soon. And then lastly up here is the Makeup Revolution, the Emily Edit the Wants palette. Again, just one of my favorites. I love having this up here. This has so many beautiful colors, and these are the type of colorful shades that I love, like this green, this lilac, this corduroy shade. When I wear colorful shadows, this is what I want to wear, so that's why I got rid of that really colorful Laura Lee palette. I prefer more muted colors like this. But if you guys want to see some of the looks I created with this palette, I will link it right in a card right here, so you guys can go check that out. But I really love this palette. I can do so many different looks with this palette. The formula is really great, a very beginners friendly palette, and this whole palette is only 20 bucks. I think it's 20 bucks or less. So love this, and that is why it stays up on my vanity. All right, you guys, so that is going to complete this video. I hope you enjoyed this video all about palettes. It was a little bit of everything, a little declutter, showing you guys my favorite palettes, but I hope you guys enjoyed anyway. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. That's always so awkward to do when my face isn't on camera. Also, make sure that you guys are subscribed to my channel before you leave. I would love to have you guys here as part of my little YouTube fam. If you don't want to miss out on any of my future videos, click that notification bell down below and you will get notified every single time that I upload a new video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and of course, I will see you in my next one. Bye guys!